Hello there, I'm John Arcadian, and this is a Gnome Stew video gnome. We're here with Joshua Bennet and Teagan Morrison, the co-founders of Heroforge, a 3D miniature printing service on Kickstarter. How are you guys doing?
Doing fantastic. How about you?
Alright, we're doing alright. I just woke up.
That's alright, it's a Sunday and you guys are kind of busy right now.
This is the bed hair of someone who's been working on a Kickstarter for too long. Oh, he's 7 days into a Kickstarter.
So you guys have just reached funding and are a bit beyond what you were looking to get, and you're getting into stretch goals. Has it been what you expected, or did it take you completely by surprise?
I think we I expected it. It's funny, before we launched, I asked Teagan what he thought we'd be at by the end of the week, and he was like, maybe 20,000. I think we're gonna be a little worried, but I think, with 20,000 we'll feel like we can make it and it's gonna be all right. And then we made over 20,000, I think, in the first
2 hours?
Within the first 2 hours, yeah.
So I was wrong. I'm glad to be wrong in this case.
Yeah, so things are going fantastically well, and it's great. We're so excited about each next step and each next thing we can add on. So it's been super exciting for us.
Excellent. So I have to ask you, what prompted you to start a 3D miniatures company, and what all did it take for you to feel you could pull it off?
Yeah, so I wrote about this a little bit in one of our blog entries, but originally we both actually kind of came up with this idea independently. It was a little bit before last Christmas, and we just started up a new campaign with some friends, and it was a couple friends who had never played Dungeons and Dragons before, so they weren't particularly eager to invest in something like a mini or dice or whatnot, because it was they're 3 games in. So they've been using coins and things like that. So for Christmas, I think we both came up with the same idea that we wanted to get everyone a mini. But I mean, it's hard enough when you go hunting for a mini for your own character, let alone for other people's characters, trying to get things to match up with the character sheet and the personality. So we both kind of went different routes. Yeah, but anyway, after Christmas had come and gone, we got the stocking stuffers for people. We had a little conversation about how we both had independently went online and hunted for a service that would let you customize and print one. And I mean, we'd both seen applications like this of 3D printing before. There's a few different little WebGL things where you can build little like South Park versions of yourself or customize like little robots, and that was pretty cool. I think we just both sort of assumed that
why didn't it exist?
Yeah, and it's the perfect scale for 3D printing too, because it still stays relatively price competitive. Because like 3D printing, once you get much bigger than that, then it's going to be way more expensive. So that's kind of the sweet spot as far as volume goes. Anyway, so we both started looking for the service, couldn't find it. We had a conversation not long after that about how we both wished it existed. We're like, we could do that. I mean, we have the skills to do that. So yeah, then we decided we would, and we started hunting for a team, and we found out really quickly that we knew all these people, these amazing artistic skills and great art experience and like amazing technical skills, and I mean, and these were all people that were just right at hand. I mean, these were friends of ours that and that sort of thing only happens in LA, I think, when you get these dense groups of incredibly talented people in the entertainment industry.
Yeah,
so.
Every single one of our team plays tabletop role-playing games.
That's true.
Which is kind of awesome.
Yeah. A couple of our team members they've just finished a campaign with them, so it's been pretty cool.
It's funny. The campaign that we originally hunted for miniatures for, that lasted, I think, a total of 3 sessions.
It came off the rails a little bit.
Yeah, we got broken up with by the DM through text message. It could have been better. And then I actually started DMing a campaign after that, and we never kind of made that investment again trying to hunt down minis, because it had been kind of such a strenuous process last time. And the whole campaign, and we actually just wrapped it up. It lasted about half a year, maybe 3/4 of a year. Mm-hmm. The whole campaign, we kind of just found what was around, found the most available, and the level of investment people had in the miniatures as a result of that was just terrible. Like, sometimes I'd have a hard time getting people to even look at the board. So we're really looking forward to the next campaign. We're gonna make our custom miniatures. We're gonna get the ones we want to make.
Yeah, we definitely found that. I mean, definitely the more involved you are in your mini, whether that be just painting it or whatnot, the more invested you are. Having one of those really few physical manifestations of a game that happens almost entirely in your mind having one of those things match up and feeling like that is a representation of what you imagined, that's really important. So I mean, painting does that, but building a mini from the ground up, I think, is going to do that a lot more. So we're really, really excited about that.
You guys talked in the Kickstarter about plans for expanding out past fantasy. How far do you plan to expand out as you get your footing under you? Are you hoping for people to be able to make any mini for any type of game?
Well, we're taking it one genre at a time. I kind of cheekily wrote in one of those Kickstarter sections is that we want to have the best service we can build before we start painting flames on it and sticking baseball cards in the spokes. So that's why we're kind of very gingerly adding genres. But I mean, we do. The cool thing about this is the sky's the limit. I mean, fantasy is clearly.
We want to do everything, yeah.
We definitely want to do everything. But clearly, we're kind of tackling it in order of where the biggest interest lies. So that's why we started with fantasy. I think that's pretty fair to say is one of the bigger ones. But yeah, we're really excited to add sci-fi, and then I think we're going to keep. I mean, as long as everything keeps going like it is, we've got plans. We've got them all queued up as to what exciting stretch goals we have lined up next.
And the weird thing about this system, just because we're making every part compatible with every other part, is that now that we know we're into stretch goals and we're doing other genres, we're very likely to hit sci-fi, I think, tonight.
Yeah.
You'll be able to combine genres if you want. And there's a lot of natural overlap between genres. So, like, if we get to modern day, for example, you'd be able to do a guy in a suit, a three-piece suit, wielding a giant laser gun or something, or just any weird combination of stuff. And I think it's going to allow for a lot of creativity, I guess.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think most of us will probably stick to the genre that we're working in. We'll see. We'll see. The users will decide at that point. We get all the compatibility for free just because of the one system.
And that overlap really kind of helps us appeal to a lot of people who haven't had many options in the past. So people who are doing kind of fantastic sci-fi with orcs and goblins running around wielding laser guns or things like that, and that's going to be that's what we're about. Or
I guess it's fair to say when we have the sci-fi stretch goal, we're not just doing sci-fi and fantasy. We're doing sci-fi, fantasy, and sci-fi fantasy.
Right. That's one of the cool things about doing this card system.
So you're talking about where it's going to be down the road, and that sounds excellent. You've already reached some of the stretch goals that you're looking for. But you've got a bit under a month left to go. Can you hint at what the next stretch goals might be to kind of whet our appetite for it?
I think we could.
Yeah, no, we should mention some of those.
Yeah, we haven't posted it yet because we wanted people to stay excited about sci-fi, but we're close enough. I think we could probably on some. The next one we're going to do is spell effects. So just like you can equip a sword, we want people to be able to equip like really cool spell effects like a fireball or lightning bolts or spikes of stone sticking out of the base or whatever. And yeah, we're pretty excited.
That's something that 3D printing allows us to do. I think it just wasn't very practical with injected molded minis. But yeah, we're going to be able to do there's a whole spiked ball of like lightning in someone's hand, and you can have whatever pose you want with that. I think that's going to be exciting.
Yeah, that's going to be one of the easiest ways that we can kind of demonstrate how 3D printing has a lot of more freedom in shapes, as opposed to trying to pour a giant spiky ball into an injection mold is impossible. So,
and that we're going to kind of branch to other genres quite quickly. That's just one of the kind of the interim kind of steps.
Yeah, that's one of the little steps.
Yeah, we're doing Wild West. Yeah. So we've decided Wild West is going to be our next kind of big genre that we want to hit. There's a big tabletop crowd with Wild West. So.
Yeah, Deadlands and things like that. And I think. That's kind of convenient because of the genre overlap. I mean, I think a lot of people probably play in fantasy worlds where they can use, a dwarven blunderbuss or, elven revolvers and stuff. So, I mean, again, it's the overlapping of genres is just really exciting because I think a lot of people who just didn't have options for minis before will finally be able to make something that actually fits, as opposed to buying 10 minis and sawing them apart and sticking them back together with green stuff and,
I do keep forgetting that. I'm really excited to see, I guess, like a half-orc wielding a big shotgun right. Wearing a cowboy hat. It's going to be interesting.
Absolutely. I cannot wait to stop buying all the Mage Knight figures so that I can just cut a little piece off here and add it into here with, anything that I can find minis like that. But one thing that I was really impressed that I saw on the Kickstarter was the articulation, the moving bits that you guys have.
Yeah, we were surprised at how excited we were too. That was just something we realized that we could do with the technology. So we sent a few test molds back, and as soon as we got them sort of in person, we had some friends come by, and as soon as they're like, dude, I'm just sold. Like this is it. In fact, I'm not sure how well it's going to show on video, but I wanted to show you guys one of my favorite. Let's see if you can see that. Is that going to focus? Yeah, one of my favorite guys. Is this like dual wielding mace guy, and both of them are completely articulated. So that is just awesome to me.
Yeah, 3D printing can just do that without having to do any sort of assembling because of the medium. So yeah, it's fantastic. I love that guy too.
So I looked at the Kickstarter video, and the UI looks really good right now. But can you kind of walk us through the process of what it's going to be like to get a mini from start to finish?
Like describing the UI and kind of the user process. Okay. So the first thing to keep in mind is that UI is very, very work in progress. We have kind of big plans to make it much slicker and more modern than that. But the basics are kind of described there. It's going to be very much at first, as soon as you log into the website, in fact, probably before you even log in, you'll just be creating a character. You'll have all the pieces, you'll have all the options available to you. That'll be a free service. Anyone can go create a character. You'll even be able to create an account and save that character. You'll be switching and swapping pieces.
Like a character.
Yeah, very, very similar to that kind of thing. Except in your web browser and for free, and you'll be able to save with your account. So anyone can just go and create some characters. In fact, one of the free services that we're offering that we're really excited for, that we think is just going to be a massive boon for the tabletop gaming community in general, is portraits of your character, like things to use for your character sheet. We're pretty excited to kind of go into more detail there, but we think that there'll be a portion of people who don't even, say, use minis for their tabletop games, and will instead just love it to create a portrait. In fact, yeah, and we have, like as an example, we have a character sheet with you can just take a screenshot, a portrait of whatever you.
And the cool thing is, it's the exact same dude as this. So you just get to output that image, and you'll have the exact character that you have the mini of.
Guys, can the idea that I use an iPhone 1 by
So yeah, we're really excited about that. So while you're making your character, once you get it right, once you have your pose right, once you get the base that you're going to use for whatever game you're going to use, which may not be a base at all, hex base, circle base, square, whatever. Once you have all of that right, and you decide to hit the print button, you don't have to. I mean, again, like it just, you might want to make it just to visualize your character. Once you hit that print button, there's where I guess kind of the magic happens. And on our servers, we'll reprocess your request. We're not going to take the model straight from the internet because we want stuff that's higher res, that's higher fidelity. So we'll process it through some 3D packages and essentially take that combination of parts and turn it into just one complete model that then we can send to, in this case, Shapeways. Shapeways is one of the leaders in 3D printing, and they offer quite a beautiful API that just recently came online that allows companies like us to concentrate on making beautiful art and beautiful interfaces and let them handle the actual 3D printing service. So this model that's being completely packaged by our tools will be sent their way and sent off for 3D printing. And then I guess I'm not as familiar with the Shapeways process as they would be. I'm just going to kind of give the best description of it I can, and that's that I'm going to talk about the high detail one. They actually do large batches of 3D printed pieces at the same time, so they don't necessarily do one individually. They'll actually print hundreds of pieces, and they actually try to fit them all into one big block the size of their printer can manage, and with a support solution. So it's actually one solid block when they finish with it, and then that block, the support solution, gets washed away, and what's left is the materials, the solid material. And then they'll, I assume, collate and filter them all from there and send them out. So it's some exciting stuff, and that'll just continue to improve and continue to get better. 3D printing is going to some amazing places. It's just incredible. I don't think it'll maybe a couple of years out, but we will be printing miniatures in just full detail color before too long, I hope.
Yeah, even just in this last year, Shapeways added a bunch of metal options, so you can pour, brass or steel or things like that. One of our reward goals is a polished silver mini, which we've shown some pictures of, and that's just crazy to us that you can print these things in metal as well. And I mean, it's fantastic. Everyone knows that 3D printing is like the big revolutionary tech for tons of different manufacturing options, but we're excited to get there first. We want to be one of the first, big impacts in an industry. Oh yeah, he's got the silver figure here.
A little silver figure. She's beautiful.
I love the pose on that.
Yeah, like the casual barbarian. Yeah.
So interesting thing about our poses, we actually got one of my girlfriend actually, who also models professionally. She got to do a bunch of 3D scans of her in poses. So we were able to work from kind of a real life reference to get the kind of the right amount of weight and the right amount of kind of body distribution that makes a pose look natural. What we actually found, and in the first idea a lot of people have is, oh, we'll let users choose the pose. Like you'll let a user move the arm in whatever way they want. And while we might allow a degree of flexibility there, it's actually incredibly time-consuming and difficult to pose a human body naturally.
Yeah.
Like that's not something we want to have to task our users to do, which is why at first you'll have 100 different poses hundreds of poses to choose from, and then certain things dynamically conform to the pose. So if you have cloth or a weapon with a chain on it, if you in a really dynamic pose, you're going to see that cloth and that chain and instantly dynamically conform to whatever motion, whatever's happening. And I think we're going to create that kind of a dynamic nature to this that just wouldn't be practical if we let people pose it themselves. But we'll see. We'll see what we can add to it.
All right. So for the last question, I kind of want to ask you a personal question.
I am single, yes.
So since this is a Kickstarter for customized miniatures, what's the miniature that you have always wanted to be able to make for a character and you couldn't find? So what kind of character have you had that you are going to be making a mini for once this gets underway?
I'd be torn between the last two characters I played. My most recent one was a dwarf named Slamhammer Thunderfist, and we were doing D&D next, so he was a cleric to the god of war. So he was incredibly violent and reckless and extremely goofy.
He loved scones. He could talk about scones for hours.
Yeah, I mean, I personally don't like scones. I have no idea why my character became so fixated on them. But so yeah, I mean, when you look through minis for dwarven clerics, you're gonna find a wide range, and that's good. And I might even be able to find some that have the right equipment, so even a maul or whatnot. But no matter how much I searched, I didn't find something that felt like his character, and it didn't capture both his goofiness and his recklessness and how violent he was. So it's going to be cool to be able to build that from the ground up.
The dwarf with a hammer in one hand and a scone in the other?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, and then my character before that was a gnome bard named Harmony Harpbreaker. And she was kind of also incredibly reckless, smooth talker. And you can find some bards, and you can find some gnome bard minis, but I couldn't find any with the weapon she actually used. And again, the most important thing for me is kind of capturing the attitude in the mini.
And the pose does that. And
the poses, which are
really generic poses,
yeah,
they have to.
Yeah. So like even if you find something that ticks all the boxes for your equipment and your character description, it still can miss the mark for you. So that's the thing we're excited about capturing. Do you have any characters?
Well, so the campaign I was in before, the one I just DM'd for the last half year plus, I kind of modded my half-orc, because there aren't very many half-orc options, to have the right weapons. I sawed things off and glued things together, and over the course of the short campaign, he got trashed, and he's now armless and weaponless, and it's just like he's a paraplegic orc at this point.
Yeah, trying to glue a half-millimeter mace onto the tiniest little orc body.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people probably know how frustrating that is.
He's worse for wear. But I think more exciting for me, just because I've done a lot more GMing than I have actual playing, and I love GMing, is seeing the people I'm playing with invested in their minis and their characters. Instead of just kind of pulling a random thing from a box, I want them to be like, this is mine, I'm going to put it on the table where I am, because I put a lot of love into this, and it's exactly me in every way, and that's exciting to me.
And it's almost like, as a GM, I think you'd be almost more excited about being able to perfectly sculpt like the big bad, like having like that reoccurring villain. You want him to be memorable.
Yeah, but,
exactly
but
right.
You guys, every time I GM, they just like slaughter all my bad guys. They cut their heads off brutally and
consistently destroy the body.
I mean, it could be just I torture. I think they've been tortured.
We're chaotic neutral.
Yeah, I guess
might save your life, might steal your car.
Over the course of our last campaign, the half year or so, they prematurely captured, tortured, and killed, I think, 2 of the big bad guys. Yeah. Like, I wasn't expecting them to get to them, and I'm like, oh God, you're doing it again.
To be very clear, they had it coming.
Did they?
Absolutely.
No.
I feel like we're getting a little off track.
Yeah, no.
I am so glad you guys are out there doing this. I've always had this kind of idea of doing something like this. You know, it's one of those if I ever won the lottery dreams. But I am so glad you guys are out there making it happen for real.
Well, we've won the lottery of just fans who have given so much. So
yeah, I mean,
thank you everybody out there.
Yeah, thanks.
And thank you, John. I appreciate getting the chance to say hi to everybody live.
Thank you very much for the interview, and I cannot wait to see what you guys keep doing with the Kickstarter.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.